But you know, value-wise, replaced with, shouldn't really be over. Mine were.
Okay, we have one recording starting and this other recording, didn't have the regular recorder down. Okay, we'll call to order this meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Roll call, Dana Bennett, first selectman to my right, Richard Mathers, selectman to my left, Todd Babbitt, selectman. Number 2, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 3, approval of minutes, June 27, 2023, regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 27th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I'll abstain.
Okay, I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, correspondence. I gave you a thank you note from UCFS. Old business, a discussion of possible action on placement of book recycling bin. So when I had spoken with the library, they talked about wanting to have this at the transfer station, but not wanting to have it behind a locked gate. And then Todd checked with SCARA. SCARA said that most of theirs that they have at transfer stations are behind locked gates. I talked to Becky after that fact. Becky wasn't sure she was interested. So I think we're kind of at a stalemate at this point. Anything else on that? Okay, discussion and possible action on the request by Mr. Held to accept the extension of Albemarle Drive. So you've received a letter that Mr. Held brought in. He brought this in after our last meeting. Mr. Held, do you have anything else with you? We had, it says in here that you have something on the land records about the transfer. Did you bring any of that with you
Yeah,
tonight?
with Ocean State Down Block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have.
Do you have that document for us or?
I have a copy of it, yes.
Okay, and I guess the other thing is as we had in our last meeting packet for the Board of Selectmen, there are several things that need to be done to accept a road. I know this is an extension of a road. And if you go back to the ordinance talks about how if it's not in a subdivision, and I know this is an extension, it's only 90 feet of the extension, but that we needed to have some information. There should have been an application that came to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah,
Did
the
you have
last-
something?
Last meeting, we talked about going off the original application.
Okay,
Mario does not have the original application.
okay,
Says he would have to look in the basement further. But I have the original plans, which is a bigger view of what Mr. Held provided. And on the original plan, you can see that there's 2 areas, possible future town road. And all he did is extend the road in that area where we have the possible
okay,
town road. So I think this plan outlined the future plan, which is what he did to get to his property.
so can
I
it go
did-
both directions? I'm seeing it goes both directions there. There's
He
one
went-
that
he
angles
went
to the
one
right, there's
direction.
one that goes forward.
He went straight from the existing road. There's
Right.
also a proposal to go to the right in the future, which this is actually Barber Road.
Correct,
So Barber Road on the other end is a town road, but I don't think it is here. It doesn't go all the way through, does it, Walter?
No, I
No.
don't even know if it came
It's
in
dirt.
near there. I think it went around,
Comes
Sure.
off of 164.
yeah, 164 and then it ends up on 138, I think, down the street from my property. I think, I mean, I don't know for sure, because
Yeah,
I've never
and-
seen a drawing that shows it.
What this proposal was to connect this road to the existing Barber Road that's down here.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Right.
so there's 2 different
There's 2 possible future
Okay.
town road options that were
Okay.
on the original design. So what he did is go from the end of the pavement to his property, which I wheeled it off. It was probably about 10 feet, 15 feet, because it's kind of on an angle.
Yeah, I mean, scaling off someone's print, it looks like about 8 feet. I extended it.
Yeah.
What's 10? What, I'm sorry, what's 10 or 15 feet or 8 feet?
Where the existing road ended and he started to get to his property is about 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
My estimation. So he added about 10 feet of road. We asked him to come back to where the road was deteriorated and repave that whole area, and he did.
Okay,
So I think, you know, if we look at the existing original plan, he did what was proposed.
so,
That's my opinion. I mean,
Okay.
I did inspect the gravel, the pavement right along. I actually went out before the last meeting and he had vegetation established on the sides. He seeded it, loomed it. You know, so I haven't checked it after the heavy rain, but it was very well established when I was out there. It was probably 6 to 8 inches high.
So the road right here, he's saying that the road has not been accepted.
it has not
The
been
whole
accepted.
road?
No,
I find that hard to believe because the fire suppression bladder for that complex, which is the water supply.
Yeah.
By NFPA standards, has to be on a town road or a municipal or state road. Because you have to have access to that bladder with the fire service. So they had trouble with dumping at that facility, so they put concrete blocks across with a chain. And the fire department has a Knox box padlock there that they can open to get in there if they need to get back to the bladder and feed the pump house. So I find it hard to believe that it wasn't accepted because it's an NFPA requirement.
where is the bladder? I walked the road.
There's
I
a
wanted-
fence on the right-hand side, almost to the end, and when you go up, there's a pump house and there's a big rubber.
Oh, it's right there, okay.
So, you know, I don't know how it wouldn't have been accepted. It may not have been. But,
Okay,
yeah, there's a picture of his established grass,
right. And I've seen it, so,
both sides of the road. So he's got established vegetation. Like I say, we inspected the gravel, we inspected the asphalt. I did get the asphalt slips. And we figured out the tonnage and we're probably about a half an inch more in tonnage than what our minimum requirements are for thickness of road. So we've got an additional half inch more than what we require.
who did the work out there?
Walter did the gravel
Okay,
and Hasted Brothers did the paving.
okay,
They graded it and then they paved it. I inspected the gravel at, the base and then the process, and then I inspected the grading, and I was there when they paved the binder and the top course.
So we understand the board of selectmen and by ordinance can improve the road.
we have several things. One, we are supposed to have an application. I don't know if we ever had an application for Albemarle. I
Well,
don't know if the
this-
attorney would have that information.
This
We've got
plan
the
would have
map.
required an application back then.
Okay, the other pieces are that, there's supposed to be an inspection fee for inspecting the road. So I guess for the addition, there's supposed to be a cash bond upon acceptance of 6%. I need to verify some of this, I think, with the attorney on whether or not we would have to get a cash bond from you for the part that you developed.
Okay, I don't know, because I mean, I don't, if I gotta put up a bond, I can live with that, but what I'm. The only part, I actually developed, the original plan shows it going within like, what, he said, like 10 feet from my property line.
Okay,
And so I rebuilt like 80 feet of road just to bring it up to a higher standard.
right.
So I don't think it'd be fair to assess me.
Oh, absolutely
a
not.
bond
No,
on
we
that,
wouldn't.
and if
No,
you
not
want
at
to
all.
bond the last 10 feet or something.
Not at all.
I'm not sure. what purpose it would serve, but you know, I don't think so.
Well, the other piece of the road is not in the best of shape. There's a lot of
No, there's
places
a lot-
where it
lot of
needs to
cracks
be,
in it and things.
right, and they're
Um,
wide cracks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would you say your costs exceeded $5,000?
On what?
What you did for
Yes.
that 10 feet, the 10 feet? Not the,
Oh, for the 10 feet down, the whole project, you know, not counting my labor, because I'm worth nothing, but,
I wouldn't
it
say,
was about 18,000,
okay,
and you went
For
about
the
80
8 feet?
80 feet.
yeah. Something
So
like
if we
80,
figured that
90.
out, you're probably under $5,000 for the
Okay.
10 foot.
Yeah,
So I mean, if we said a bond of $500, which is 10%,
yeah, no, I mean, I
Roughly.
have no objection to that, and that'd be what, for a year,
yes, I think it's a year.
yeah.
the other part of this is that we're supposed to have 5 copies of as-built plans, again, that might be, might have happened in 1993 when the road was first done. And then, it's supposed to go to the Board of Selectmen, to Planning and Zoning, and to a town meeting.
Yeah, I know it has to go to town meeting. Well, if it's a subdivision, it does, but I don't know
I
if
think it
it's,
does for non-subdivision too, from what I read in here.
okay.
They're not approved. No, that's part of going to P and Z. So I apologize, but I didn't get a chance to talk to the attorney last week. I will talk to him and just go through these steps and verify. Could you get us a copy of that land record?
Yeah,
And just,
you're
leave,
talking about the road,
The agreement with Ocean
yeah,
State.
with job lot.
yeah. If I could get a copy of that, that would be helpful, and then we can take the next step again and do you have any questions?
And you said that Mariel has no,
He finds nothing. He said he'd have to go in the basement and do some digging, and he was not sure if, you know, somebody purged stuff.
Is this your only copy?
So,
No, I have the original.
Can I keep this
Yeah,
copy
you
and
can
then,
keep that.
okay, thank you.
you know, my only other concern is, I know, you know, he wants to get this accepted. I think we should work with him a little bit. You know, because we know that DOT did make the statement when this road was put in, that there was gonna be one cut off the service road, and it did have to service all the property owners. They were not gonna allow another cut off for SR 630, the service road.
yeah.
So, you know, that backs up what he's doing.
Right,
And the other thing that I'll just point out is Walter has another access through the BMW subdivision, and I would hate to see him exercise that option and run commercial traffic if he sells his property through BMW Drive.
okay,
So I think we really need to consider, you know, what he's proposing here, because I don't think that would go over too well with some of those residents up there. He did keep a right of way through
Okay.
there, so. I know he's been here a few times. I'd like to wrap it up if we could, so we don't have
Okay.
to have other options open that could come back and be unpleasant for the taxpayers or us.
So
the other thing, oh, go ahead, sorry.
so we can set a town meeting maybe? And then get all the other information, so we have it wrong.
The other piece we have is we have got somebody else that I think has that other access road off of there. So I need to verify, because there's the right angle that goes potentially through that fence that goes to the pump house that somebody has suggested they have an agreement on also. So we need to verify what other property owners might have an agreement on that. And that's
They
part of
both
what I'll
go
do
through
with
Walter's
the,
property, so
Yeah.
both of those proposed roads.
What I'm proposing just ends at my property. And then there was another, if you go to the end of Albemarle Drive and you made it right, that's where I think that's called track 2 on the Prince. And that's the one that would go service another adjoining property owner, and that was actually not well defined exactly where it would go. Mine was well defined because it was paved.
is that, so as you go in the gate, is that your property also to the right?
No, as you drive in, or you walk back.
I
there,
did walk
There's
in.
a gate, but, and that goes to the pump house. It
Right,
has a road, there's a road, probably like 50 feet beyond that,
okay,
where the proposed track was to service people that direction and runs parallel to the pump house road.
To the right.
That would be to the right, yeah.
So it sort of curves off where you paved. Is that the one that we're talking about? You paved
Well,
to
yeah,
the
see,
end
mine
and then,
says, proposed road that would curve off to the right,
okay,
because there was wetlands out when they,
So he did this. This is proposed and this is
okay.
proposed. So this is the one you're talking about.
Is this Barber that go, is that what's
Well, that
supposed to
was-
be Barber
That
there?
was the original thought, was this
Okay.
was gonna go through and connect to Barber on the other end.
Okay,
But, you know, that would be up to somebody that developed that property.
Yeah.
And I think that's your property. Correct?
right,
they
Or
would
is
have
that-
to go across my property to get to.
So they're gonna have to make an agreement with him if they decide to put this in. For an
Yeah,
easement.
or they can make an agreement with that was called track 2,
Yeah,
which was originally meant for that, but. That, from what I see with track 2, and you read the description of it, is very vague on where it is, and
yes,
it says you're gonna have to make agreements with other property owners to put that track 2 in, so,
it's not as straightforward and easy as yours.
yeah.
are these Mario's maps?
So,
Are these Mario's maps?
no,
That-
these are, I printed these out of the clerk's office. They have the Mylars on file.
Okay, from 7/8/94.
Yes.
All right,
And it's, they don't have the machine, oh yeah, 1202, 1204 are the map numbers.
okay. All right. We'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, new business A. Discussion of possible action on one tax refund for a total of $172.98 as presented by Leona Sharkey Tax Collector.
Make a motion to approve the tax refund for a total of $172.98 as presented by the tax collector.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. B, discussion of possible action on department head monthly reports. Any discussion, questions?
I just got two, they're both on the Blake report.
Okay,
1585 Glasgow Road.
yes,
If you could send her an email, they've cleaned that property up completely. They took the pool down, they took the pallets that was a chicken coop down, cleaned all the garbage outside, mowed. So she should be able to close that out.
okay,
And 1560 Volantown Road, can we get her to go out there? Trolls garage. We got the
1560.
partially collapsed building, we got a bunch of vehicles that
Oh, you bet.
don't look like they have plates on them. Just flat tires, things like that.
So that's a complaint for her to address.
Well, I think we should at least look at it.
Yeah, I agree. We are almost, I think, in possession of that property. I don't know where we stand on that, but I will talk to her about that.
I mean, I'm happy with what I see in the report. She's
Okay,
making progress.
yeah,
I just don't
absolutely.
want to see her waste any more time on
I
1585
agree.
Glasgow.
I will send her an email. Definitely. Anything on your end, Richard? Nope, okay. C, discussion of possible action on appointment of Martin McKinney from an alternate member of the Inland Wetlands Commission to a regular member to fill the unexpired portion of a term 1/1/2021 to 12/31/2024. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Martin McKinney from an alternate member of the Inland Wetlands to a regular member to serve a term from 1/1/21 through 12/31/2024.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any other business that may properly come before the board? I have none. 8, public forum. Any public forum? Dave,
Dayview, 59 Leah Avenue. Two items. One is the car show that's being planned for East Coast Auto. And one of the stipulations you guys put on it was that they had to get permission from the adjacent businesses. Shouldn't they also have to get permission from the adjacent residences? Or at least inform them that this is gonna happen? And second, the 1560 Voluntown Road. That's my favorite. The Petrillo property that I've asked every quarter about for the last 10 years or more, goes back to Phil Anthony. And I see no progress there, no condemned signs on the door, even though people have said they went on. The P and Z has made excellent efforts in getting the property across the road cleaned up, the two properties, the Gold or Gordon, yeah, properties. They've made good headway there, but this Petrillo property really is a blight and an eyesore on our community.
It did go into foreclosure and bankruptcy, and we are supposed to be becoming owners of that. They had an opportunity to file an appeal. I'm not sure where we are in that process right now, but we're very close. And then we'll take it from there. I believe we have a Brownsfield grant on that and some,
We did have one from a while ago. I don't know if they're still holding money or not, but
okay,
they were gonna come out and do the
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
subsurface
okay.
soil investigation and see what the level of contamination was, and it was a full grant process.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other public forum? Jennifer Gothier.
Jennifer Gothier, 70 Brown Avenue, Jewett City, and I'm here in my capacity as the registrar of voters. I have a copy of the letter I will give you, but every time I give correspondence to the board of selectmen, it never becomes part of the public record. So I'm going to overview it, and then you can have a copy for yourself. I'm in receipt of the registrar of voters payment policy that was approved at the June 27, 2023 Board of Selectmen meeting. First, let me say that I'm extremely dismayed and disappointed in our administration in that a policy was proposed, drafted, and voted on without even notifying either registrar that it was being discussed. It was not on any previous meeting agenda, and then mysteriously added to a meeting agenda for a meeting where one registrar was out of the office with a spouse, and I was attending another town. This is not the proper way to have open and transparent government, nor is it an effective way to develop policies that affect public servants, whether they are actual town employees or elected officials. So I have a couple of questions. Under what enabling legislation, state statute, or local ordinance grants authority to the first selectman or board of selectmen to set office hours, hourly wages, or payment policies for the registrar of voters, or better yet, for any elected official? What prompted the changes for this act to the active long-standing payment policy? And why did the selectmen displace their regular duties to take time, effort, and money to draft a policy for an elected official? In this payment policy, office hour regulation and pay rate being implemented, is it being implemented for all elected officials, including yourself? What sources of information were used to calculate a rate of pay of $17 per hour, or the number of hours proposed to work in the office or out? Although I understand the desire of the first selectman to control all things that occur under the roof of the town hall, I respectfully request that this policy be scrutinized and, if redeveloped, be properly noticed and discussed at a regular meeting, especially since the voters elected the registrars and approved the current budget. In order to be properly implemented, it technically and appropriately should be approved by their vote and applied to all elected officials. I request that these concerns all be answered in full and in writing at your earliest convenience. If this policy is only created so that the first selectman can control the actions and work of the registrars, I must caution that the work of a registrar is covered under both federal and state law, and impeding the work of an election worker is punishable under the law. And by restricting locations and hours of work, that impedes my ability to perform my duties, especially during election time. Additionally, if this is not a policy that's being thoughtfully drafted and implemented for all elected officials, including yourself, town of Bristol may be subject to a lawsuit for discrimination, among other things. Respectfully, I'm notifying the board that until and unless these questions are appropriately addressed, answered, and returned in writing, providing for an opportunity to be reviewed by myself and legal representation, and then reviewed and approved by the voters, I will be unable to adhere to this new policy.
So I would like to respond some,
I would like it in writing. So
and I will provide it to you in writing. We had an issue with, and we've had ongoing issues with the number of hours. I will give it to you in writing. and I'm going to also
And it's a
speak.
personnel issue and should not be discussed in public.
It
if
is not
that's-
discussed in public, and we
This
will
is
have an
public.
opportunity to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you.
But it is, there are very good reasons for doing that. We believe we're under,
Well, unfortunately.
ability to do that?
Unfortunately, you are not allowed under the law to create our office hours.
and we are not creating office hours, which is, if you
are.
look at the policy, it
I'm not
says
looking-
estimates.
Thank you.
And I will let you know that this has been passed.
It
This
has
has
not
been
been-
passed. It was passed by the Board of Selectmen, and it is in,
Okay, then answer the.
I'm happy to send that to
answer
you.
the fir- No,
I-
excuse me, this is public forum. Then under what enabling legislation allows you to create a policy for one elected official and not all others? None, thank you.
No, we have,
I'm not. answering.
there are many towns that have this policy.
There is.
There are many towns that have the
And I would like
policy.
to be put in public comment, and I would like it to be put on the record, because that what you're doing is discrimination.
It is
You can't
not
do it.
discrimination. It's been passed. If you would like to have a, you can schedule a letter with the selectmen
It
or
is not
a
a
meeting
letter.
with the selectmen.
I want it to be put in, so the public knows what you're doing.
Okay,
It's
then we will
discrimination.
schedule a meeting with you.
I don't.
so
want
that
a
we
meeting.
can bring
I
it in
want
public.
to get questions answered first, and for my legal counsel to review it. I am not punching the
Okay.
clock, because you know that I work in Hartford. When would you like me to punch a clock when the office is open?
Do you have
Thank
time to do this
I
job?
do not.
Okay, you don't have time to
No,
do
I
this
have
job.
time to meet with you.
Okay,
Do you have time to do your job?
I have time to do
I
my
was
job.
elected knowing that I work full-time. So if you have an issue with the registrar, then you should go to the Secretary of State.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
the policy has passed, so we thank you for
It's
your
not
letter.
legal. It's not a legal policy. If there is not enabling legislation, you show me a statute that says that the Board of Selectmen can select an hourly rate, hours of office hours, or a payment policy, then I will abide.
It
But
was,
there is not.
it was an estimate. We are asking for
No.
documentation
You
of
do it for
hours.
everyone else.
We do it for other people,
No, you
and
don't.
we are asking for
There-
documentation
you
of
did a
everybody
survey.
else.
There are no elected officials in this town that punch a clock, including yourself.
I'm happy to punch a clock.
Then you do it
Yeah.
and set the precedent.
I can
and we'll
certainly
follow
do
the
that.
policy.
The policy's already been set, okay?
No,
So
no,
thank
I'm
you for
sorry.
public forum. Any other public forum?
Yes, as a matter of fact, like I said in the last paragraph, until and unless everything is written in writing and reviewed by myself and my attorney, then I will not be adhering to your policy.
The policy's been set, so thank you for that. Any other public forum? Any other public forum? All right. Last item on the agenda. Number 9, adjournment. May I get a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right,